That movie sucked.
I kind of liked it.
Movie Night Crew Network.
Welcome to the restricted section. It's me, your basilisk. Fuck, that wasn't good at all. It's me, Christina. I'm really bad at this. Welcome to the restricted section. Here we are. Woo! This week we're going to be talking about the Chamber of Secrets movie. Yeah, great. I always expect for there to be like applause and like thunder and like air horns.
Oh, wait, let me get my air horn app out.
I was going to say, you expressly forbade her from using an air horn, and now you're telling her to use air horns. I'm just saying consistency, Tina. That's all we need.
Yeah, the mic loves when you do that. Andrew, how are you doing today?
I am doing fantastic. I'm doing very well.
Hell yeah. Mary Clay, how about you?
Yeah.
Sorry. No, you're great. No, you did great.
I'm doing well. As I was saying before we hopped on the recording, I have a post-election glow, doing things I should have been doing the last couple months and contemplating my career trajectory and whether I should get a master's. The answer is no, I'm not going to get my master's because that's a lot of money. But it's nice to think about, you know?
Dream big. And I'm really excited to share that our special guest today is Caitlin Durante, co-host of the Bechdel Cast. Caitlin, hello.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. We're so excited. We love the Bechdel Cast.
Oh,
and
thanks.
We love your input on movies, so we're really excited that you're here.
I'll do my best.
If you could please just tell us a little bit about your very hairy history, like when did you start reading the books? What was it like? Were you a kid? Were you a grown-up? Did you maybe read the epilogue first, like Mary Clay did?
Whoa. That's bananas.
Yeah, I did that.
Arguably, objectively, the worst part of the entire canon.
I understand. I am an enigma. I hadn't read any of the Harry Potter books when Deathly Hallows came out, and it was lying around on the bed of the camp that I was at that week, and I was like, well, let me see if Harry lives, at least.
Wow. He does. And then
Spoiler.
And then he just sorry everyone. And then he said, Daddy! Anyway, my very hairy history is I started reading the books when I was, I think, a young teenager. I believe I was like 14. They started being published a few years before that, but because the first book was published, was it 90-something? Does anyone know? Anyway, not important.
I think it was
97?
98. Somewhere in there. You're doing great.
Something like that.
I think they came out when I was 8, which was a strong 99.
Okay. I just remember that I believe the first 3 or maybe the first 4 books already were published by the time I started reading them. Mm-hmm. So I read the first 3 books in 2 days total. Because I started and I was just like, oh my gosh, this magical world that I'm being transported into, I can't leave. It took me a little longer to read the 4th book because it's 1,000,000 pages long. But I read that in like 5 days. And then I was like waiting in real time the rest of the time for the books to be published. And then the movies were coming out like concurrently. And I've seen all the movies in theaters. I watched the first movie so many times that I can recite the dialogue front to end from memory. And so that's a very cool fact about me. I've read the books multiple times, especially the first 4. I've read each of those, I think, like 4 or 5 times. The other books I think I've read twice or 3 times, depending on which it was. But I would say I'm I have stepped away from my fandom a bit, especially ever since J.K. Rowling really started putting her turfdom on display. But
yeah, we don't like that either. That was about 2 months after we decided to start a Harry Potter book club podcast. Ooh, that was great.
Super fun.
Very cool.
So feel free to refer to her as that bitch or she who must not be named. That helps us cope.
Yeah. Jake or Voldemort. That didn't work at all. But I still appreciate the books and the films. I've also I've watched the first 2 Fantastic Beasts movies, and they just keep getting worse and worse.
Oh my god!
Yeah, those are things. Those are things.
Oh, and then the cursed child, like telebook or whatever.
Is
the play.
Also a thing.
It's the worst thing I've ever read in my entire life. But anyway, I do the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. Speaking of, I've also been to Universal Studios to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter and have enjoyed the rides. But as far as the universe, I am a pretty big fan, I would say.
That's awesome. What Hogwarts house are you?
Ooh, okay. It's changed a lot in my in my life. First, I was like, I'm a Gryffindor because Harry's a Gryffindor. And then I was just like, oh, no, I'm a Ravenclaw because I'm so smart. And now I'm like, no, I'm a Hufflepuff because I have compassion and I care about people and I'm nice. I'm also a sourpuss, so I don't know if I'm like, am I sort of, I'm like a Hufflepuff moon and then like Slytherin rising, or I don't know how like Zodiac works, but it's something like that.
Slitherpuff, but
I want Huffle to become, I'm like predominantly Huffle. I'm like Huffelrin, yeah.
That's like when you're grumpy and you're just like stomping around, you're Hufferin.
Right. Oh.
I had a really similar trajectory where I originally thought I was a Gryffindor because, duh, they're the good guys. And then I was like, wait, but I'm brilliant. I'm a Ravenclaw. And then once I became an adult, I was like, no, I'm definitely a Hufflepuff. Come on. It's the stoner house and the snacker house. Like my whole identity. All right. So before we get into talking about the film, just a couple of housekeeping things. One, just in case anyone gives a shit, because I do. Rupert Grint just got an Instagram account and he posted his first picture was of his 6-month-old daughter, Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wait.
Daughter?
Yes.
She's 6 months old?
Yes.
I thought she was just newly born, and that's why everyone was posting about it. So did he just announce it?
It's the first released picture of her, I think. And it really is just the back of her bald head.
Oh, okay. Because I've been under the opinion that this is the time to do a secret pregnancy. And if I was in a relationship and I like turned to my husband and I was like, we've been wanting to have a baby. This is our time, but here's how I want to do it. I want us to get pregnant and we are not going to tell anyone until we have the baby. Because I think that would be the best prank of all time, to be like, to just show up at like Thanksgiving and be like, I know we haven't seen anyone in the last couple months because of quarantine, but here's your grandkid.
Whitney Cummings actually said the same exact thing. She was joking. Well, I say joking. I don't think she was talking about at the beginning of quarantine how now's the time. I need to find someone to have a baby with.
It does remind me of like old-timey novels where people get inappropriately impregnated and have to like go to the country.
Go hide away.
And I'm like, how could you do that? Won't people notice you're gone conveniently? And then you come back and you're just like a little heavier and sadder now.
That's one of my favorite jokes in the musical Hairspray, where the reason Tracy is trying out for the show is because the girl who's leaving, they're like, Brenda's going on a vacation. How long will you be gone, Brenda? And she goes, just 9 months.
Man, that's a great... I don't think I've ever seen the play, but that movie is delightful. In all the wrong ways, I think.
Thank you, John Waters.
Okay, my second housekeeping is I just want to let everyone know that this Friday, November 20th, is Grace's birthday. Our co-host Grace.
Oh.
Please, everyone, send happy birthday wishes through the restricted section social media accounts, and they will get to her. Okay, great. We love you, Grace. You listen to these
air
episodes.
horn sounds.
Happy birthday, Grace.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's get into it. I feel like there should be a summary here because we start every chapter episode with a summary of what happened. But if y'all don't know the plot of the Chamber of Secrets,
go back and listen.
That means you haven't listened to any episodes of this podcast until now, nor have you read the books, nor have you seen the movies. So, like, literally, what are you doing?
I don't think so. I'm just imagining the, like, one person on Earth who hasn't had any exposure to Harry Potter yet. And they're like, you know what? My first experience for Harry Potter is going to be, I'm going to come in halfway through several months into this restricted section podcast and listen to this Chamber of Secrets episode. That's going to be my first Harry Potter experience.
There's better Harry Potter podcasts to start with. Just kidding. We're delightful. We're just, some of them get real scholarly with it, let's say. So, the Chamber of Secrets movie, wow. It came out in 2002. It came out exactly 1 month before The Two Towers. Did you know that, Mary Clay?
I didn't know I figured they were around the same year, but, I was just so thrown off because I've been doing Two Towers coverage right now and I think the last Harry Potter movie I watched was last year and it was Prisoner of Azkaban. So it's been a while since I've seen Chamber of Secrets. And the moment Dobby came on screen, I was like, Gollum? What are you doing here? And truthfully, they had to have collaborated because both Gollum and Dobby were so well made for the time, and they also still hold up really well today. And I'm just like, there's no way that they didn't, like, send each other notes, like, hey, this program worked great for us, how about you guys? Like, oh, we found that this is particularly great for the animation of the eyes. Like,
yeah. What's that actor's name who plays Gollum? I love him, but I can't remember his name for some
Andy
reason.
Serkis.
I think my brain is like, it can't be Serkis because that means something. But it would be funny if he played Dobby too.
I mean, he's a chameleon. He's so versatile. He can do anything.
I completely agree. So, Mary Clay, you think the computer graphics for Dobby held up?
Yeah, I think pretty well. It's been, like, really interesting. I'm gonna try, maybe I should just get, like, all of my Lord of the Rings related thoughts out of the way in this, like, 1 minute so you can just cut it out.
Lord of the Rings minute.
No, that's a different podcast.
I know.
Anyway, so, I definitely so watching Chamber of Secrets, I understand now on my podcast where when I'm talking to people about, like, the special effects of Lord of the Rings not usually holding up well and them being like, oh, yeah, I guess I can see what you mean, but I just never really noticed it because I've been, I saw it for the first time when I was younger or in the 2000s and it just wasn't really a big deal then. So I can see what you mean, but they're not that bad for me. And I totally got that watching Chamber of Secrets because there are a lot of effects that they do. Like, I remember when Hermione did the Oculus Reparo and you see, like, the little puff of smoke come off his glasses. I was like, oh, that was actually, like, kind of bad. That was, like, very corny and cheesy looking, and it didn't look like a natural effect at all. And there are a lot of other moments like that too.
I think a lot of the magic looked fake.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And also a lot of it was just explosions. Every spell is just
explosions, yeah. Yeah.
Well, when they're doing, like, the wizard duel, after the attacks start happening, we're like, let's not close the school. Let's just teach these kids how to defend themselves.
Yeah, let's arm these children.
They're, like, they're doing all these, attack spells, but they all produce the same effect, which is just to blast the opponent backwards. And it's like, what, who, and why?
I have a major pet peeve with that too, because one of the spells that they chose to use is Rictusambra, however you pronunciate that, which is, like, straight up said to be the tickling charm. So they're like, Rictusambra, and, like, Harry flies across the room. It's like, that's a really fucking powerful tickle charm. I don't want to be tickled like that.
So Harry's the one that hit Draco with that, and that's really flirty. So really just not as much flirting in the movies as there was in the books, if you ask me. Okay, great. I'm always like, okay, it's like, how do I get off the flirting? Okay, wait, my other last random item is that this movie got an 82% on Rotten Tomatoes, which was very funny. I feel like that's really generous.
I was going to say that makes sense to me, so.
I'm pretty sure this movie came out before Rotten Tomatoes was actually, like, a website.
What? So really? I don't know why it didn't occur to me. Okay,
so if that's the case, then that's a pure nostalgia rating. That's not people time off.
Give me a fucking second. No.
I could be wrong here.
No.
I could be
Rotten
wrong.
Tomatoes was launched in 1998, 4 years prior. Indeed. We also covered this on our Movie Night Crew podcast, and I rated it, I think, at like a 70.
Well,
I think we were going out of 5.
The worst Harry Potter movie, right?
Yeah.
I would say the worst book, which makes sense. For me, at least, I like this book the least of all of them.
Yeah, we kind of came to that consensus on during our chapter episodes too. It's like the vibe that we got when we finished the last chapter last week was, I like it better than I thought I would, than I remembered liking it, but it still is not. It still is the worst book.
Also, it's as long as Fellowship of the Ring.
Yes.
Like, what?
A lot more happens.
What, in Chamber of Secrets a lot more happens, or?
Yes.
You're joking, right?
Oh no, we're gonna fight. The battle of the fandom!
Did you not see the amount of stuff that was still cut from the Fellowship of the Ring? Like, extended edition is 3 hours long.
No, you're right. I guess
even that, they still left out Tom Bombadil.
You're talking about the length of the films.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah,
when we queued it up, Sean was like, this is certainly the extended edition because it's 2 hours and 40 minutes. And that was not the case.
That was not the case at all. When also, I think, Christina, the big issue that y'all were having there is you were clearly talking about actual distance traveled, and that train went way further than those hobbits got out of the Shire.
I think I was talking mostly about, just in terms of getting story done. Chamber of Secrets gets story done.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of story. There's a lot of plot points. There's a lot of plants and payoffs. There's several red herrings. There's an awful lot of story happening.
Yeah, it is a great self-contained mystery. So just to kind of help us with like the organization of our conversation, let's talk a little bit about the time Harry spends at the Dursleys in the Burrow, and then we can kind of get into like the details of like Hogwarts and stuff. I mean, really, by that I just mean the Burrow, because fuck the Dursleys. I mean, we talked a little bit about Dobby. We watched this together, we had our fans on our like Discord and we were all watching it together. So I might occasionally sprinkle some fan opinions. We were talking about Dobby. Yeah, and I think that the animation like kind of held up. I think what ruined it for me was Daniel Radcliffe's like not being able to act against nothing a lot of the time.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have been looking at Daniel, but I kept looking at him.
I mean, to be fair, he was a child. So,
yes.
You know, I give these kids a pass. But like real quick though, throughout the film though, I was like, wow, Rupert Grint was really good in this, you know, at this age. Like, he did really good.
He's been consistently really good and far better than Daniel Radcliffe throughout the entire series of the movies. Because, like, Daniel starts out pretty bad. He gets a little bit better as time goes on, but I still think that both Emma Watson and Rupert Grint act circles around Daniel Radcliffe. And that's just my bitchy little opinion.
I agree with you, but I think that it's like a lot of that is because Harry's like a non-character in the movies. He has like nothing. He's just like a vessel for the story.
Right.
Yeah.
He's nothing but a vessel of emotion. At least from, like, the fourth book on, it's just, like, which emotion is Harry going to be in this scene? In this scene, he's going to be hurt. In this scene, he's going to be angry.
That's like in Peter Pan, they say Tinkerbell's so small she can only have one emotion at a time.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, about Dobby, one of our friends in our Discord chat, Charlie, noted that his eyes maybe should have been bigger. And that, to me, was funny because I'm like, oh yeah, that Morgall in me. I think that he was animated well, but like, yeah, looking at him in his setting and like with his surroundings, kind of like they really want you to keep looking at him and everything he's doing. They're like, don't look. My foundation is blended perfectly.
Ignore the boy acting behind the screen.
And then also, just I noted that Dobby doesn't make a really dramatic crack when he disappears in the films, but he does in the books. And I really like that. It's like so dramatic. And I think it like is a plot point later when he like wakes Harry up in the middle of the night, but that's fine.
Well, I think that's just because he's apparating, and that's just the general sound that apparition makes. There's a crack.
Oh yeah, you're right. I guess everyone in the books makes a crack when they apparate. We just haven't seen it yet, so I forgot.
It does say that different people can kind of do it different, like, loudnesses. Like, the way it kind of explains it in the books is the more powerful you are and the more control you have, the, like, quieter your apparition can be.
Oh, interesting. Because imagine your most introverted friend entering a room with, like, a giant crack and everyone, like, looks at them. That would be kind of a nightmare.
Yeah.
I'd like it. I'm like, that's my walk-on song.
Well,
I am here.
In the books, tell me if I'm misremembering this, but for some reason I thought it was this. Is it this movie? Or no, maybe it's Prisoner of Azkaban, where he gets in trouble for using magic outside of school in the books. Does that not happen in this book?
That's this book. No, that's this book.
That's this one, yeah.
He gets a letter. So, like,
right.
the dramatic scene with, like, the pudding and his uncle's boss and his wife, in the books, it's exacerbated because immediately after that happens, an owl comes in and drops off a letter telling him that he, like, did magic in that house.
Right.
And the wife is terrified of all birds.
Yeah. Well, it does happen again in the third one, too. Because in the third one is when he accidentally blows up Aunt Marge, and that's when he has to take the night bus and...
Yeah, but he doesn't get in trouble for that. He just thinks he's going to get in trouble for that. I think it's the fifth. Well, let's just keep going down the line. I think it's the fifth one where they try to really fuck him. That's the one where he has to go to court because they're trying to get him in trouble.
Yeah.
And he thinks he's going to get in trouble in the third book because he did get in trouble in this one. That's okay.
Yes.
So I am remembering this.
Yeah,
right.
But then they're just happy he's alive because there's a murderer.
Right. They're like, oh, thank goodness Sirius Black didn't get to you. But so in this movie, so they leave that out of the movie because I had this whole spiel that I was like writing in my notes before I realized that they completely cut this out of the movie. But like in the book, he gets in trouble, but it makes me think, okay, so they detect magic happening at the Dursley house. It was Dobby's magic, not Harry's magic, that Harry gets in trouble for it anyway, which makes me think, okay, does this wizarding system of magical detection of, like, underage wizards, are they not able to tell who the magic is coming from? But that doesn't make any sense because, like, in a, like, household of, like, an entire magical family, you're gonna have the parents doing magic with, like, the kids around, not at school. How are they gonna tell who's doing what magic?
Yeah, we've definitely explored this clear world building fallacy in the chapter where it came up. We always try to find the best possible explanation, even if it's not very satisfying. So we decided that it's like, they flag houses where underage wizards are living without parents, and then they just trust wizarding parents to monitor their own children.
That makes sense.
And I also think, like, building on that, you have, like, at the Malfoy household, they probably don't, let Draco do whatever he wants. And he can practice his magic. He can fly his Nimbus 2001s, whatever.
Just like any other thing that you're jealous of your friends with cooler parents, he gets to stay out till midnight.
Yeah, Mary Clay, I think you could have just stopped that sentence that they let him do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
Yes,
Do you think that Malfoy, when he was a kid, had, like, a governess or something?
Like a nanny?
A nanny, that's the word when you're not in the Sound of Music.
No, you know what Malfoy would have had? He would have had, like, either Crabbe or Goyle, and help me with this, Tina, you're going to know what this phrase is. Is it a whipping boy? Is it that what it's called when, like, the lordling will have a commoner friend that's, like, always punished for him? Yeah. That's what Malfoy had.
Jesus Christ. All right, this is getting dark. Okay, well, cool. So then Harry goes to the Burrow, which is like, that's one of those places where like reading about it is really nice, but the way that they rendered it in the films is like so nice.
Oh, I love it.
Mm-hmm.
All the details, because one sweeping shot of film can tell you so much more than like just like a quick paragraph in a book. It really created a vibe. It's got like low ceilings, everything's made of wood, there's things knitting. Yeah.
A dish is washing itself just repeatedly. It's already clean by now, but it's like, well, we figured out this practical effect and we don't know what else is going to affect. So it's just going to be continuously washing itself.
Yeah. At the WB, it's not the Wizarding World because that's the theme park, but it's the like exhibit thing that they have in London for Harry Potter. Harry Potter Studios, I think is what it is. They have like a whole, it's really cool. I would recommend it if you're in London. I would really recommend going to visit because they have like every little detail explained, and there are a lot of interactive parts. It's just really awesome. And there's this whole section where they have the Burrow and they have these like machines that they built for this scene, and you like go over and you like swipe your hand over a touchpad or whatever, and it'll activate like the knitting needles or the carrot chopping itself, and then the wash pan in the background.
That's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Also on the Burrow, growing up, my family would always go, all the time, we would always go, "Where have you been?"
Have you guys been seeing those like hashtag pictures you can hear going around Facebook? I think that's like, I'm in a lot of Harry Potter Facebook groups and I've seen that one pop up a lot, and I'm like, I think that's the best one. Like, you can hear that picture.
Mm-hmm.
Also, shout out to Julie Walters, who plays Mrs. Weasley and who plays Mrs. Bird in Paddington, which is my favorite movie.
Is that a Paddington I see on your shelf behind you?
It is. Thank you for noticing. I'm surprised you can see that. It's very dark. Yeah, I have a stuffed Paddington doll bear toy.
Doll bear toy.
Prominently displayed, yes.
Emotional support buddy. I think I mentioned this, I know I mentioned it at least to the room. I might have said it on Discord when we were watching it together. But the one thing that I was always really annoyed that wasn't in the movie was the gnomes. Because in the video game, it came out before the movie did. Because it would always release the video games before the movies to get hype. And in the video game, it was like a big part of it was denoming the yard.
Like that kind of a task really lends itself to a video game.
Exactly.
And like,
I was so ready to see Harry denome a yard, and then it never came up, and I was so disappointed as a child.
There's also a really great illustration of that scene in the books, just flinging it. That's one of those details that I understand we have to lose for the movies, but it just is such good world building.
Mm-hmm. I remember playing that video game, and I never got past the denoming part because I was pretty young when that game came out, and so the denoming part, like, it didn't scare me, but it like made me really nervous and anxious because if you didn't grab the gnome fast enough, it would like bite you and like your character would like lose health points or something. And so it made me really like nervous and anxious trying to play it. And so I just never played the video game to get past that level.
That's terrifying.
Yeah.
So here's a fun note that I realized about when our time spent at the Burrow. This movie passes the Bechdel test several times, and the first time that it happens is in the Burrow. And I wrote down the dialogue because it made me laugh so hard that I almost pissed myself. Okay, the movie passes the Bechdel test with the following exchange. Okay, Ginny asks Molly where her jumper is, and Molly says it's on the cat.
Oh, and it's a brilliant line read because it's just, she's saying it so just nonchalant.
Like, didn't you look so there?
Normal. Yeah. Oh, it's on the cat. And then you're just like, but there's that. And then the other best joke of the movie is when Hagrid, like, Ron is barfing up slugs. And Hagrid is like, oh, you need a specialist equipment for this. And then he just hands him a bucket to barf into. And it's amazing comedy. But yeah, the jumper on the cat is brilliant. I love it.
I feel like I've never noticed that line before because I was like, what the fuck did you just say?
See, growing up, I just assumed that, the cat is just like a British term for like, it's on the chair, it's on the dresser, it's on, whatever. Because she calls her sweater a jumper. So I was like, okay, obviously a cat is a British term for something that I don't know. That's fine.
Yeah. And like a jumper to me when I was a kid was like a pinafore type dress. Do y'all know? Gals, do we know what I mean?
Yes, like a overall dress.
Yeah, like that's a jumper. Mm-hmm. So really, the American English language is nonsense.
When you said a pinafore, whatever came after that, I immediately thought the USS Pinafore, and I was like thinking 1800s British.
A pinafore is just like a type of dress. Don't even worry about it. Okay. Our friend Charlie did say that there's a fan theory that the cat is like a hook. There's like apparently a hook in the burrow that looks like a cat, but I don't like that. I want it to be on the cat. I want the cat to be in a jumper.
Sitting on top of Crookshanks. We don't have yet, but whatever.
So then we go to Hogwarts. Gang.
Hang on, real quick, want to give love to Arthur Weasley, because he sits down and he looks at Harry and goes, "Who are you?" And then when Molly is like, "Your sons blew that enchanted car of yours to Surrey and back last night. Did you really? How'd it go, boys?"
Man, all the adult actors in these films are so fucking good.
Yeah.
Well, it's rather unfortunate in a way, because you've got like literally the best actors and actresses that England has to offer, and then a bunch of children that are in the main roles. So you have these supporting characters that are doing.
And then you have Kenneth. Meanwhile, you have Kenneth Branagh come in for Lockhart.
It's funny because all of these really excellent adult actors, this was absolutely my first introduction to them. So when I first saw these movies when I was 10, I was like, "Who the frick are you guys?" Well, you're obviously Severus Snape. And now that I'm an adult, I like know all of these actors from other places. And so I'm like, you really just did this for the kids, for the love of the game. Like, you really just wanted to be a part of something special.
I mean, Alan Rickman will always be Snape in my mind. I almost said Judi Dench, not her. Maggie Smith will always be McGonagall. Kenneth Branagh will always be Lockhart.
Judi Dench for me is seared into my brain as what the fucker face from Cats, dude. I cannot not see Judi Dench as a cat now. Yo, Deuteronomy! Dude.
How could you? How could you?
I can't.
Oh, and then Jason Isaacs as Lucius Malfoy is so good. And another moment where I was like, Legolas?
Wait, I'm gonna look up when the heck did the Jeremy Sumpter Peter Pan? Because
because he's also Jason.
That was 2003. So my poor little prepubescent self got hit with Daddy Malfoy, and then the next year with Peter Pan.
Well, going back to Alan Rickman, I absolutely love Alan Rickman for many reasons, but the trifecta of roles between Die Hard, Harry Potter, and then Love Actually are just like the three most ridiculously separate characters. I absolutely love it. And it's like, I still see him as... I know other people on this podcast have differing opinions, and that's okay. We're all entitled to opinions. That was make them, so great, is that we can all keep them and hold them close to our chest.
Did you show me that movie?
Yes.
Great.
I showed it to you, but it's not the Richard Curtis movie that I showed you and then accidentally shushed you during. That was Notting Hill.
We got into a fight because you shushed me.
I didn't mean to shush you, but I shushed you.
Okay. Wow, silencing women. How could you?
Yeah.
Well, I probably was talking in the middle of his movie, like, this is so stupid. Because I did not like that movie. That you said. Okay. Wait, I did skip Diagon Alley, and my only note about Diagon Alley is that Harry Potter's turtleneck in this scene was also part of my 12-year-old sexual awakening.
What?
Everyone looks good in a turtleneck, babe. He looks so good in his sweater.
I remember, it's something that I didn't, remember when we were doing our Halloween spooky episode, but when it was called
Scary Potter.
Oh, okay, sorry. When Harry's in Borgin and Burke, and then he reaches for the hand and it closes down on him, there were several years where literally every time that scared me. It was a huge jump scare for me.
It's very startling. Everything that happens in Nocturne Alley is very funny to me just because it's so cartoonishly evil. It's just there's all these bad wizards in the world and they all congregate here in Nocturne Alley and everyone's spooky. And it's also parallel the next block over to die. It's so close to your good wizards, but these bad wizards, all these Voldemort following, it's right. It's just everyone who was a Slytherin when they went to Hogwarts just lives here now, and it's just so cartoonishly evil.
Yeah, when we were watching this during our watch along, I wrote in our chat, they're like witches, and then I was like, I mean the Sanderson sisters kind, because obviously.
Yeah.
But they are I smell a child.
Right. It's I'll get you, my pretty, and your little dog too. It's are you joking me right now?
Are you about to speak in rhyme about Scottish kings to me? What the hell is going on here?
It's better than, if you'll remember in the books, Harry encounters a witch with a tray full of toenails, I think.
Yes.
Oh. And Hagrid knocks them out of her hand, so I'm glad we didn't have to see that, because that would have upset me.
Same.
That would have been the most dangerous practical effect, because one of those toenails would have gone in someone's eye.
Oh my god.
Bam!
Man, and then it's some intern's job to sweep up the toenails after every day.
Sweep and count. 1, 2, 3, 4.
All right, well, are we ready to go to Hogwarts?
Woo! Yeah, we're just going to take a nice, relaxing train ride, right?
Yeah, that's
what we get to Hogwarts.
Dumb boys.
Literally, every single reread or rewatch, when I was 8, I was like, obviously this is the only answer. If they have to steal the cart, they got to get to school. This is important. It's their education. And now here I am, and I'm 30, and I'm wow, they are so fucking stupid.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. Is it a good decision? No. Is it the decision that every 12-year-old boy would make if they had access to a flying car? Yes, very much so.
And
you gotta just fly there, right?
And I've said it before and I'll say it again. There's a reason Harry and Ron are not in Ravenclaw.
Yeah, it's funny because later in this movie, spoiler alert, Hermione gets petrified and the boys have to do a lot of problem solving without her, and it's a nightmare. They're very bad at it.
Oh, they're so bad.
I kind of just realized that this absolutely would never have happened if Hermione had also gotten trapped. She would have been I will go walk over to this payphone and get to the bottom of this. We're not going to take the fucking car.
I also have a follow-up question, which is, how did these boys know? Because I say this as someone who can't freaking go to Trader Joe's without having to use my GPS on my phone. How did they figure out not only how to get there, but even just north, south, east, west?
I think they were following the train the whole time.
Well, no, they were, but they had to have gotten out of London. They didn't see the train going anywhere until later. They didn't find the right railroads. How did they even know what direction to go in? How were they oh, you know what? This magical school that doesn't exist on a map, it's that way. Take a left.
I think Hogwarts is indisputably north of London.
Yeah.
So general north would have been a good move. But I am with you where I think they for sure would have gotten separated from the train and not been able to figure it out after that.
Yeah.
Especially, aren't they flying kind of above the clouds for a while? They're not.
Yeah.
I have 2 problems with the car.
Oh, only
scenario.
2?
Just 2? That's
probably
it?
More. But here's 2 to start. And we have to backtrack a little bit for the first one, where we get the plant, the setup of the car, when Ron and his 2 twin brothers show up at the Dursley house and are here, Harry, we're here to rescue you. And it's how did you know that Harry needed rescuing? Because you hadn't corresponded with him. You don't know what's happening. Why? Because it very conveniently happens right after Harry gets bolted away into his room, a prison cell. And then he's we're here to rescue you. And it's that doesn't track. How do you know that? Anyway.
It's a leap for sure.
It's a big leap. And then the second issue I have with the car is so it has an invisibility booster, right? It makes it, there's like a button that you can press and it turns the car invisible. Very nice, very convenient. However, and maybe I'm wrong about this as well, but from my understanding, the world building of Harry Potter is such that invisibility is like a very rare and difficult to achieve thing. A skill, like it's a skill. Like there's one invisibility cloak, and Harry has it. It's really hard to become invisible. There's like not that really many spells. So like, how does this like random car have this invisibility ability? I don't think
ability.
Yes.
I can actually answer that one.
Okay, please.
So to achieve invisibility is not difficult. To achieve something that has the permanent ability of invisibility is what's difficult. So like, there are a bunch of invisibility cloaks. Harry has the only cloak of invisibility. The difference being the semantic that like, it will never lose its power. It will never grow old.
It's
a concealment.
Let me explain what you're trying to say. But okay, so Harry's invisibility cloak is inherently invisible. Other invisibility cloaks are cloaks that are like charmed with invisibility charms.
Okay.
Yeah,
and I think that the car would also have to have an invisibility charm in it somehow.
It probably has a disillusionment charm.
Yeah.
The one that, remember when Shacklebolt uses it and he says it feels like an egg dripping down his head?
But that's more of like a chameleon type thing.
Well, and that's the way it's described in the book.
Yeah.
It's more of the chameleon. So that, once again, that's what it would be, is that not like I said, invisibility in theory is easy. It's like, but the thing is that it's not like a permanent solution. So you can't just hit it and automatically it's going to be fine every time. It has to have a power source.
I think it's important to remember that this car was deeply illegal, and I don't think it could ever have become. I think there's no way to make a flying car invisible enough. Sure. That the Ministry of Magic would be like, yeah, fly that thing.
It makes sense that it stops working. Like the invisibility component of it is like, no, I'm tired.
The invisibility booster's faulty. Some of their line reads in this are just so bad. I cannot.
I love it. I love when Harry's hanging out of the car and he goes, "Your hand's all sweaty."
That's such like a friend. I feel like that's also genuine friendship.
Why would Ron not just? He's like tilting the car down, tilted the other way. You know,
there's a lot of like movie drama that I was clocking in this movie that makes no sense. Okay, one that really drives me crazy. This is a lot later. When they're in Lockhart's class and he brings out the pixies and they start tearing apart the room, the very first thing that happens is Hermione sweeps all her books off her desk.
Yes.
And I'm like, why the fuck are you doing that?
Well, hang on. I thought you were going to point out, like, what does Lockhart think is going to happen when because he opens the cage and it's like immediately like, oh no! And then fails to do anything and then runs away. So, like, what did he think was going to be accomplished? Because he also does that. He doesn't give them any spells or, like, a lesson to be like, okay, we're going to try this pesky pixie pestaroni, whatever. Pepperoni.
It's pester, no me. It's like the least pester, no me. Like, that's what it is.
Like, you're trying to, like, speak in Spanish in English to a Spanish speaker. When you're in Mexico or whatever, like, what did he think was going to happen? You know,
I guarantee you, he genuinely thought that it would work. I guarantee you, at some point in his life, knowing Lockhart as I do, at some point in his life, he heard this spell and was like, "Anti-pixie spell, got it." Later on, he's like, "I know pixies, haha," and then he's like trying to use it, and of course, it doesn't work.
As a reminder, we did a Behind the Magical Bastards episode about Gilderoy Lockhart on our Patreon account, where Andrew really dives in to exactly just everything you've ever wondered about Lockhart. There are answers. So if you're interested in that, please sign up for our Patreon.
Well, let me just go on a tangent about Gilderoy here, because he's supposed to be this like really dashing, handsome, wizard who all the ladies, because everyone's straight except for Dumbledore, which we never learn in the canon. But anyway, so like all the women and all the girls are like, oh my god, he's so hot. No disrespect to Kenneth Branagh, but like, are you sure? Really?
What?
Like,
I mean, I don't know. I think he comes off as very charming in the role, and I think that's Gilderoy's allure. He's very charming and very charismatic, and I mean, I think he's handsome. I think he's cute. Oh. I think 13-year-old me would have swooned.
I think there's tiers of like literature people, and it's like the top tier literature critics, including Brooke and some, maybe you, Caitlin, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but some people really think that Kenneth Branagh like thinks he's more than he is. Brooke said I don't like him because of what he did to Shakespeare, and I am like one tier down from that, where I'm like, I love him because he helped me understand Shakespeare, you know?
You mean with his rendition of Much Ado About Nothing?
I love that movie so much. It's like my favorite.
I love that Keanu Reeves is inexplicably in that movie.
He's Denzel Washington's brother.
Incredible. Yeah, I cannot say that I've really ever liked anything that Kenneth Branagh has done. I don't even think I'm saying his name right. Sorry, everyone.
It's French. I know it's not French. I'm an idiot. It's British.
I have zero idea how to say his last name.
It's like
so I just kind of I like slur my voice towards the end.
Is it supposed to be like rough Scottish, like you just did?
I'm pretty sure it's Scottish. I'm pretty sure it is.
I
think it's either Irish or Scottish.
Okay, do you want to hear? We have a series of fan castings for Gilderoy Lockhart if we were to choose someone else to play the role.
Ooh.
Our top two are Jack Black was the runner-up.
It was my pick.
We like a fat Lockhart. And our winner of who we think should play Gilderoy Lockhart is Matt Berry, the actor from What We Do in the Shadows.
Wait, I'm gonna have to...
Not the Broadway actor. I know there's a Broadway actor named Matt Berry.
From the show.
Yes,
the movie.
from the show, not the movie. He's the one who's like, I've sculpted this topiary of my mother's vagina.
Right. I don't, maybe, again, forgive me for all the misremembering I'm probably doing, but I thought in the books they describe Lockhart as being like, just jaw-droppingly handsome. And I feel like there's a difference, like, these people are charming, but I wouldn't necessarily classify any of them as, like, classically, traditionally handsome?
Maybe almost like a dopey, like, Chris Evans.
I was gonna say either Chris Evans or, you know what, Chris Pine.
Chris Pine.
Sure.
Chris really Pine, hit that dopey factor.
Whenever Princess Diaries 2 Royal Engagement is
yes!
Fantastic movie.
It's so good.
And Chris Pine is just so he's just so dreamy. I love it. I'd love to see it.
And he's got that, you know, classic Hollywood handsomeness thing but he would have not been the right age. He still isn't quite the right age.
Yeah, I think
like
I think I'd rather see a Lockhart who can act like he thinks he's really handsome than a Lockhart who is actually genuinely very handsome.
Well, and for what it's worth, like, obviously I am a straight guy, so I'm like the worst person to answer this question.
Everyone's a little bit gay, dude. Just step up to the plate.
I think from my perspective, what they were probably trying to do is twofold. First of all, it's a kids movie, and it really wouldn't be okay if you had like a ridiculously over the top handsome guy that all of the teenage girls were like being incredibly like, oh,
yeah, he has to be kind of like daddish.
Yeah, you got to make him daddish. And then the other part of it too is they probably that's probably part of the joke for like that they're aiming at the parents is that because there's no one who you can choose, that literally every person is going to have that same reaction of like they're the most amazingly attractive person in the world.
I don't know, man. Jason Momoa is pretty fucking hot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, withdrawn. Go ahead.
Yeah. And the end. Here's my dream casting for who should have played Gilderoy Lockhart. Hugh Grant because we know he can do kind of like a dopey, especially if he's like sort of doing his character from Paddington 2. He's also got like a handsome factorness that is necessary. He's also charming. Like, I think
charmingly befuddled.
Mm-hmm. That's my casting.
I like it. I can dig that.
Yeah. Hit us up with your fan castings of Gilderoy Lockhart. I know we've talked about it, but we've raised some new points, and I want to get this right. I want to get it right. I think the rest of the movie is cast perfectly. I think Kenneth Branagh does a really good job. You can tell he's having a great time the whole time, and that's fun to watch. Yeah. And he really really embodies like the bravado for absolutely no fucking reason.
Sure.
Maybe he's channeling that from his professional career. I don't know. But
I'd like to think so.
He owns it. He wears those clothes, those waistcoats. He really wears them.
I love the moment where he tosses his cloak into the crowd of the dueling club and it's not like the little girls, it's like the 16, 17-year-old girls who grab the cloak and are like, oh my God, because I like 100% could imagine myself doing that too if I was, a student at that age.
Well, while we're talking about the thirst factor of wishing we were thirstier for Gilderoy Lockhart, I wrote a thirst list for this movie. As an adult, my list starts with Lucius Malfoy, because he's an adult. Daddy Malfoy is really hot. He brings the dramatic fashion in this movie.
Oh
He has a funny hat during the Quidditch game. He keeps his wand in his cane that he doesn't need to walk. He just has a cane because it's dramatic. Mm-hmm. There's a scene where he has a ponytail with a big bow.
I was just like losing my mind over how, overly dramatic he is in the scene when they're in the bookshop and he drags Harry over to him and uses the top of his cane to push aside his hair so that he can and he's stroking his forehead with the snake part of the cane. And I'm just like, Lucius, bro, what is up with you?
I think, that's the thing with these movies is the children are always underacting. The children are always just standing there like, what voice? Where? What did you do? What's going on? And the adults are I think they're really just having fun. He's like, what if I use my fucking cane?
I think it's also probably a mixture of, imagine you are 12-year-old Daniel Radcliffe and you're around all of these amazing, veteran actors, very distinguished, very famous especially in British film, in that world. And then Jason Isaacs pulls you close to you and brushes your hair aside with his cane. Your instinct isn't going to be like, oh, I should act like that's weird. Your instinct is probably going to be like, Jason Isaacs knows what he's doing. So
I'm in good hands right now. Okay, to continue my thirst list, Tom Marvolo Riddle.
Oh, yes.
Oh, my gosh.
That actor, I would like to reiterate, was 24 years old when he filmed this role.
So it's fine. We're safe.
Christina, really quick, that thing you were saying about everyone's a little gay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
His cheekbones are so good. What the fuck?
Yeah.
His name is Chris. I looked it up because I was like, ooh, who is this person? Is he still acting? Is he still hot? The answer is yes to everything. His name is Christian Coulson. He's in his 40s now. He's extremely hot still. I haven't really seen him in other things, although his list of credits are things I've seen. So I think he must mostly just do kind of pretty minor roles and stuff, but he's you're leading man handsome.
Yeah, he's pretty hot. He's pretty hot for a grown-ass man.
While we're on the subject of young Tom, so I have all of these memories of certain moments or lines that stick out in my mind from my childhood, and one of them is when they're in the chamber and he goes, very much alive. And I've never been able to like place my finger on it, but I finally did it this viewing around. And it's like he's channeling Alan Rickman in that moment.
Oh,
Right.
indeed. Yeah, with that line delivery. Alan Rickman takes him aside, is like, buddy, I know you're trying to play evil. Let me give you some recommendations.
From one Slytherin to another. Here's how you do it.
There's one line that there's a couple lines that I really wish had made it. They take stuff out to keep the films tidy and straightforward, but you really lose a lot. I mean, I preach to the choir, y'all know, but I really miss in the books when they're fighting in the Chamber of Secrets and Fox shows up. They're both just like looking at him because they're like, what is this bird doing here? For like a full minute, they're like, what the fuck is this bird doing here? And then Tom Riddle says, to business, Harry. And I wanted that. And then the other line that I just so wished was in the movie, I think Mary Clay, we were talking about this on the chapter episode, when Harry and Ron are trying to get into the Chamber of Secrets in the books, and he's like, open! And Ron's like, that was English. It's just so fucking funny.
It would have been so good, because he says in the movie, there's this very dramatic lead up to them realizing that, like, oh, this is the chamber, this is the entrance, this is the opening. And then there's this dramatic music swelling, and Ron is like, go on, say something in Parseltongue. I think it would have been so great if you, like, zoom in on Harry, he says, open, and then the dramatic music cuts out, and then Ron's like, that was English, bud. Try again.
It would have been so fast. That's like another, like, 10, 15 seconds of the movie. They should have done it.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, man. And then also, speaking of 10 to 15 seconds of the movie that was cut, is the infamous scene where Harry is sitting, like, on the opposite end of the lake as Hogwarts, and Hedwig is next to him, and this is extended edition. And he goes,
who am I, Hedwig? What am I?
Really got to spoon feed it to these children viewing this movie. They're like, oh, they're these idiots. He's wondering who he is, okay?
It's so dumb. Oh my god.
There's another like very expository line that is in the movie. Tom Riddle at the end is like, well, just because your bird has pecked out my snake's eyeballs doesn't mean that it can't still kill you. And it's like, yeah, we saw that happen, bro. And it's like, well, I guess there's like 5-year-olds who like don't know what's happening, I guess. I don't know.
Oh man, I know I've mentioned it a lot of times, but the child acting in this movie is so bad. When the basilisk's eyes are getting pecked out and Daniel Radcliffe is just completely prone on the ground, not moving at all, watching the shadow of what's happening, like, what? Oh.
Okay, so question. So we know that the basilisk petrifies people who don't have a direct eye contact with him. And this occurs to me when Harry trips in his which I always thought they do this in the movies like a couple times where they give Harry like a Velma from Scooby-Doo moment where he's like, my glasses! I can't see without my glasses! And he trips and falls and his glasses fall off. Would he be petrified or killed if he were to look at the basilisk without his glasses on?
Yeah, we've kind of done this.
Yeah. Oh, okay, then never mind.
We don't know the answer to. No, it's fine. It's fine. The answer is Moaning Myrtle died with her glasses on, so I think it's not looking through something as much as it is the image being distorted. So I think. I would, if I were around the basilisk, I would take my glasses off.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, because then I would not physically be able to see it. But my vision's god awful. Right well, then I could see it. Yeah, for what it's worth, there's a lot of drama, a lot of Bird Box drama, in the books of Harry running around with his eyes closed in the Chamber of Secrets. And in the films, his eyes are wide fucking open the whole time.
Again, he's not a Ravenclaw, you know?
No. Very much no.
Okay. Speaking of Ravenclaws, okay, I just saw Penelope Clearwater in my notes. So this is a terrible segue into me talking about... Okay, I mentioned earlier, we all know, when you turn a book into a movie, you have to lose a lot of subtleties and a lot of like tertiary and like whatever is even even
quadrary.
More quadrary characters. You have to lose a lot of outlier characters. And the shitty thing with this book series is that when you start collapsing in all these side characters, they're mostly women and people of color.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the books feel a lot more diverse than the films because we lose Penelope Clearwater, who's like a total, she doesn't get any dialogue really. She gets one line in the books, but she's like a total entity. They erase her from the movie. She gets petrified at the same time as Hermione in the books, but she's a non-entity. The whole side thing with Percy hooking up with Penelope doesn't even happen in the movies, which RIP, that was a great side shenanigan. There's Lee Jordan, right? We get to see his Quidditch commentary, but we don't know who he is. We don't care about him. There's the whole rest of the Quidditch team, which includes people of color and women. Yeah, a woman of color in sports.
Kitty Bell and Alicia Spinner.
Alicia, way to go. Yeah, wow. So it's just like sad that when you collapse all these things, it takes away a lot of our representation that we get in the books. Dean Thomas, I don't think appears for one fucking second in this movie.
But Christina, we need to see more white men.
Shut the fuck up. And then
I have so few role models.
So it's like, yeah, we're left with Hermione, our female main character. But it's so frustrating because they make her so insufferable in these first couple films. Mm-hmm. They give her every smart line. We've talked about this before in the film, she takes all of Ron's emotional and intellectual dialogue, including dialogue that's at the intersection of that. Like in the books, Ron gives this really heartfelt not a speech, but like he talks about what is a mudblood when he's like barfing slugs. He's like, it's a really gross word. He has, like, this history to put behind it. He really cares about his friend Hermione. Like, he really gets it. And she just steals it from him. And so they just make her into this infallible character to the point where they had to put her out so that there was some challenge to them getting to the end of the movie. Mm-hmm. It disappoints me that happened.
It feels to me like I don't know how much this applies, but I think you could make the argument that she is like sometimes kind of like a Mary Sue character because she comes in, she knows everything, she like is good at everything, she's just like the smartest person, and she just like knows all the spells and like right. But then I was like, oh, but then they like sideline her for the entire climax of the movie. I guess they sideline Ron, too, because he's just like, I'm trapped behind some rocks with a guy that doesn't have his memory anymore. So, of course, like, I guess Harry has to, like, go on and, like...
Always has to go on alone.
Be the triumphant one.
For the love of God, make him go on alone. Maybe that's why I like Prisoner of Azkaban so much, because the trio endures the entirety of the climax together. Ron gets sidelined at the very end, but they go through it together.
Yeah.
I think the reason you like Azkaban more is because it's a better book.
Better book, too.
It's just better in every way.
We've mentioned that my husband may or may not be exactly the same character as Professor Lupin. Is he a werewolf? I don't know.
Whoa.
But he definitely is a tender, quiet academic.
Yeah, The Prisoner of Azkaban is my favorite book by far.
Oh, hell yeah. It is worth noting that Ginny in the films is exactly as much of a presence as she is in the books. That is to say, an absolute non-presence.
Yeah.
Now, hang on.
Okay, sorry.
This is probably going to begin a very long, arduous journey on me and my. It's like me and Faramir. It's book Ginny and movie Ginny are not the same people,
Certainly
and it makes me so upset. And granted, Chamber of Secrets. Book Ginny and movie Ginny are very similar because you're not really supposed to see a lot of her because then you kind of get this, this like thing in your mind that's like, we should pay more attention to Ginny because she's, suddenly around a lot more. What's going on with that?
You see her just enough to be like, yeah, I get it. It's her first year of school.
Yeah. So, Chamber of Secrets isn't a good example, but definitely later on, like especially in Goblet of Fire and later on, she's a lot more confident once she kind of like gets over this little crush that she has on Harry, and she's a lot less self-conscious and more self-confident. And I love it and hate what they did with her in the in the book. I mean, in the movies.
Bonnie Wright and Daniel Radcliffe have no fucking chemistry. Dude.
I know.
From the beginning.
Well,
the first second he touches her in the Chamber of Secrets, she's dying, and he takes like 2 fingers and like pokes the top of her hand. It's like the least flirtatious, least sexual way to approach a person.
That's because, one, they are 12 and 11 years old. They're not supposed to be flirting. They're not supposed to be
He touches Justin Finch Fletchley a lot more intimately.
That was something that made me mad. So he
caresses his finger.
It wasn't me, I swear. And then he stays there and like does like for anyone who watched Rocket Power, he does like the wiggity with Justin's hand, cold dead hand, and then is surprised when McGonagall shows up and is like, "This is out of my hands, Potter."
Wow, Maggie Smith, what a queen! Mm. Yeah, so Rupert Grint, as we've mentioned before, he does some work in this. Maybe at times a little too much work.
Yeah,
I love it.
Some overacting.
I was going to say earlier, you said that every child actor in this underacts, but I think Rupert Grint's the one that really went out there. They were like, all right, Rupert, you're going to hold up your wand that's now broken. You're going to look to camera, and you're going to be like, oh no. And Rupert goes, okay, I can do that, and looks with the most over-exaggerated look of just pure terror at what has happened. I mean, some of those glances he gives have more emotion in them than like Daniel Radcliffe has in his whole body.
It's the facial expression. He's so good. His face is so like squishy. He can do like so many things with it. When he's like afraid and he does his like scared face, it's like, oh, why couldn't it be full of butterflies? The movie continues to do Ron a disservice in a variety of ways. They make him stupid in the movies. In the books, he's not stupid. He's just a little annoying. But in the movies, they make him full stupid. Here's an example. It was his idea to drive the Ford Anglia to school. That's fine. That's stupid. But when they get to school, in the books, his wand breaks in the process of their car crash. But in the movies, they have him like slamming it against the steering wheel, and then it snaps. And it's like, yeah, bro, like that's what is gonna happen. It just makes, and then he's like, that puts the responsibility of that on him instead of like a kind of circumstantial thing that makes us feel bad for him in the books. It's his fault they're in the car, but it's.
I see what you mean. Also, how about that car suddenly becoming sentient? It's like, I'm sick of people driving me around. I drive people around now. And it just like suddenly has free will. And I do love that for the car.
How about that car becoming the single best character in the entire movie?
The Ford Anglia is a free elf. Definitely my favorite character.
We discussed during our watching with our fans on Discord that we want kind of an offshoot now that is purely the adventures of Fang and Ford. So because like the spring that Fang and the Ford Anglia spent just tutoring around the Forbidden Forest.
There's a continuity error where they take Fang with them into the forest and he gets in the car with them, but then when they get out of the car, we don't see him get out of the car. So it's like the Ford Anglia just took him.
They're just chilling, man. They're having their own adventures.
Cut to they're like, "Where's Fang?" And then just cut to him in the forest with his paws on the wheel, just driving it.
Big mastiff face, just like.
But the Ford Anglia is driving. He's just letting Fang think that he's driving.
Oh, that's nice.
I like that.
Wait, I looked up this dog actor. Hold on. I think I was drunk when we were doing this.
I don't
Do you think you were drunk when you looked up the dog actor? No way.
No. I don't know if I want to hear you talk about it because surely the dog is no longer alive.
The dog is
and I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that.
It's fine, dude. This is
just lie to me and tell me that he's still alive.
He's totally still alive. His name is Hugo. That's all I remember. That's what I looked up. I was like, what's that dog's name? He's a good boy. His name is Hugo, and he's a great actor.
Wait, speaking of animals, can we talk about Hermione as a cat?
Yeah, man. How'd you like that, CG?
So,
I looked practical to me.
Really?
I thought that was a practical effect.
Oh, to me, it
looked really
very.
Oh shit!
It didn't look. Yeah, it didn't stand out to me as like, oh, this is bad. I'm sure it was a mixture of them doing makeup and prosthetics and CGI.
I don't have any education or training in this kind of stuff, except for that I'm really good at wig spotting. That's like my superpower. But this is a little beyond me. Hermione, cat.
Okay. While Christina's looking that up, you just bringing up wigs, this is completely unrelated, but I just need to get it out there into the ether because it annoys me. There are all these kids on TikTok making fun of the Hamilton professional shot on Disney Plus because you can see the wig line on the characters and all the actors, and they're like, no one knows how to put wigs on these people, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, that's because that's theater, and they don't put wigs on the same way that you would for a movie because it's far away, and they need to be able to take wigs on and off easily a lot of times. And then they're also being like, what's that little thing that's sticking down on their forehead? That's like, oh, the costume people made a mistake. And I'm like, that's their microphone. Yeah. Literally, shut up and just go away.
Well, back to Hermione as a cat, which is a sentence I say every day. I feel like no one talks about Hermione as a cat. I feel like no one remembers Hermione as a cat. And I admittedly also, but then I was like, oh my God, right. Hermione turns into a cat and like can't turn back into her human self. She like has to go to the hospital wing. She looks frightening. Like
she looks fucked up. It reads really cutely in the books, but when you see it in real life, you're like, yo, that's fucked up.
It's terrifying. Yeah. Also, I do think the movie Cats, should have taken a note from this and done a little bit more of Hermione as a cat.
Wait, I have a note. I have a note somewhere. Oh shit. Oh man, I didn't write it down, but someone in our Discord chat definitely said Jellicoe Hermione.
Yes.
By the way, Caitlin, I really hate to disagree with you here, but I think there are a lot of people who vividly remember Hermione as a cat, because I'm willing to bet there's a direct correlation in the rise of furries with the...
You almost said furies. That's so much
I almost said furies. With the rise of furries, with people seeing Hermione and having an awakening at a young age and being like, this is what I like.
I just can't. She looks so fucked up in that
She
scene.
looks so bad.
I can't with that.
And she's 12. Like, let's not forget that either. But
right.
In the book, do they give an explanation for how she like makes an excuse to not Madame Pence, but Madame Pomfrey for like how this came to be?
The thing is that Madame Pomfrey just doesn't ask questions.
Yeah, it's never explicitly stated, but Madame Pomfrey does not ask questions, which is probably a good thing when you have a school full of wizards, because they're going to be doing just stupid shit.
Yeah, we joked about this during one of the chapter episodes, but it's probably deadly serious that when she got the job, Dumbledore was like, these children need to be able to come to you with anything, because otherwise they're going to be giving themselves like third balls and stuff like that, and like they like need to know they can come to you and you're just gonna fix it and it's gonna be okay.
Have you ever seen what happens when a whole school gets magical chlamydia? You don't want to see what happens when a whole school gets magical chlamydia.
Oh, Madame Pomfrey is like such the underrated hero of this series. She does so much.
It's like the only safe space in Hogwarts.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
in a
true.
very real way.
Yeah, well, she doesn't, in the book, she doesn't let visitors come visit these petrified people because she's afraid they're gonna come finish them off. She's basically just pretty badass.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be fair, like, I get it might help you emotionally to visit your friend that's been petrified, but you're definitely not helping your friend that's been petrified to visit your friend that's been petrified.
Whoa, you're full of shit! They find the answer when they go visit their friend that's been petrified.
So they find the answer, but that didn't help her get unpetrified any quicker.
Oh, I guess that's true.
Do you want to tell that to people who have loved ones in comas?
I know, no. We've talked about this. Y'all need to listen to the podcast that you're on.
Started by saying I know that it might emotionally help the person visiting, but...
Okay, so let me review some more of my notes. Madame Pince, the library. In the books, The name of this podcast is the restricted section. In the books, they have to go into the restricted section.
Mm-hmm.
To get
a lot, right?
To get the polyjuice potion recipe in this book specifically. And they don't, she just grabs that shit off the shelf in the movie. They don't go into the restricted section at all.
That is restricted section erasure.
Yes! Why would they put these potions in the regular ass section?
No group of people has ever experienced as much erasure as we, the restricted section, have.
It just made me mad, okay? She just pulled it right off the shelf. Do we want to talk about the intense pod racing Quidditch scene?
No. I do like how, though, in the last movie, we have this intense moment at the Quidditch match and Hermione saves the day. And then when something's going wrong this time, Ron's like, I'll do it. And she's like, no, even with the proper wand, it would be hot or whatever. And then also in the background, Rupert Grint's face when Hermione's like, even with a functioning wand, you wouldn't be able to do it. And his face looks so like disappointed.
He's just so funny. Why is he so ready? That wand's been broken for a hot minute, bro.
I do have to admit, like, secret time here, when I was a young lad, I absolutely adored the Quidditch scenes, and I thought they were incredible, and I was wrong. I will admit that now.
Wait. I think that this particular Quidditch scene between Draco and Harry is very fun. It's, like, very fun to watch. It vividly reminded me, seriously, of the pod racing in Star Wars Episode 1, which is a film that I enjoy. And
wow.
I know. Hot take. Whatever. I don't give a shit. It's weird that, like, they're, like, flying around, and then they go into this, like, weird, like, hallway type, like, underground.
It's like the scaffolding.
They spend, like, half the game there.
And then for some unexplainable reason, Colin Creevey is somehow down there taking Also, what pictures does he think he's getting where he's down that he can't even see maybe he's just like trying to be like an artsy Instagrammer, you know? And it's like trying to get like weird angles or whatever, but until Draco and Harry fly down into that part, he has zero good pictures of this Quidditch match, you know?
Sir, do you have a media pass? What are you doing down here?
Sir, do you realize how sketchy it is that you're taking pictures underneath the bleachers of an event that takes place in the air? This is not okay. I need you to return to your seat, sir.
Right, they are like under the bleachers, so we're all like the teens making out, because isn't that where teens go to kiss on each other?
Well, there's plenty of empty classrooms, which is where Percy and Penelope are making out in the books.
Plus, Caitlin, why would you go and neck your lover at the Quidditch match when you can go lay by the lake?
Why would you say it like that? Why would you say neck your lover?
Why would you say that to me?
For that reaction, that's why.
Oh my god, okay, Grandpa. So now you can't tell me that the Quidditch was practical effects. How did those effects hold up?
They got those children on very, very fast moving pieces of wood.
It was fine. I don't know. I didn't.
Yeah.
I'm okay with the effects that are like when they're in movement. It's a lot more forgiving. Yeah. So I don't mind. It'd be interesting to see what my brain would do if it was, like I'm doing with the Lord of the Rings movies, where this is the first time I'm watching it in 2020.
Yeah, that's true.
If I would look at the Quidditch scenes and be like, oh, that's terrible. Why did people watch these movies for 10 years?
Yeah, I remember that there's a Quidditch scene in the Sorcerer's Stone that is really bad to me, but I think that's kind of like a lighting issue where it was like the sky behind him the whole time is like a glaringly sunny sky, and then his face is like overcast the whole time, and I'm like, this makes no fucking sense. So I think that the movement really helps that. You're right.
I think that's also why they did a lot of the chase scene underneath the bleachers.
Ooh, good point. So they just can have no direct light.
Yeah, they could blur things a lot easier. So instead of like having different colored, like, towers and fields and stuff, it was all just wood that you got to blur. I think it was probably ended up being a cost thing. It's because I don't even think in the book they have like I know they have an extended chase scene, but I don't think it goes through the bleachers. I could be wrong, but I don't.
It doesn't
remember
go through the bleachers. What happens is, I don't think there even is a chase scene, really. Maybe just like a minute, but he sees the snitch hovering behind Draco's ear and like dives at it. Draco maybe is like behind him, but he catches it right away. So I wrote just like, how do the graphics hold up? Here's some other graphics time, computer graphics. I don't know what I'm talking about. How did it hold up? The polyjuice potion, when he's transforming in the mirror, and apparently in no pain or discomfort at all.
I feel like that held up pretty well. They did it for 2002. That worked for me.
Yeah, I think the bubbles help again to distract you.
Mm-hmm.
Like a bubbling face. I did miss in the books they're like screaming in agony and like writhing on the floor. I'm like, that seems more appropriate for what is happening here.
I think you got the understanding that it's a very uncomfortable process because all of them are like, I'm gonna be sick.
I'm gonna vomit.
Yeah, so.
As far as effects go, what about Harry's arm? That's the grossest, unfortunately well-produced effect.
That's got to be a practical effect, because it was so like
also
visceral.
The sound
editing
that they use for that too.
It's like macaroni stirring. It's like it's disgusting. It's so bad. Good. It's like you are a soup inside right now. So sorry for that.
I want to talk about, I think it's a mixture of graphic and then like practical effect, animatronic, whatever. I'm a Fox stan. I love Fox.
Fox News.
The FAWKES.
Okay.
Fox News, FOX can go fuck itself.
Can go Fox itself.
But like literally every time Fox is on screen, and then the music that I texted in Discord that I could like just make myself cry just by listening to his theme alone. Like if you just shut me in a room and just played his theme, I would be crying instantly because it's so beautiful. But
oh yeah, you like didn't come to the whole chat except you popped in to be like, oh yeah, Fox's theme music makes me cry. Anyway, I'm out.
Yeah, because I think you guys were like around that point or about to be or something, and I was like, oh, I love Fox. Anyway,
I was pretty drunk at that point. I was like, Mary Clay, we're at the climax.
But there's a moment where it's when Harry, I think, is talking to Jenny and is like, get yourself out straight away, which first of all, there's no more danger in the chamber, you know, it doesn't have to be so urgent.
He's worried
he's like,
he's
get out.
Dying, maybe?
No, well, he's acting as if like another basilisk is about to come out and eat them. He's like, Jenny, get out of here, save yourself, but there's nothing else to be saved from. Okay, anyway, during that part, you can see like Fox is like blinking and moving his head, and it like just occurs to me that I was like, oh, that was like the animatronic people sitting like behind the screen being like, we're gonna show him moving so that like you can see that it's a very like practical effect thing. But I was like really staring intently at him, and I'm like, these freaking movie designer people got me thinking that like I could just walk outside and see a bird exactly like Fox because it looks so realistic.
It looks really real. I don't think they could have done like the puppetry angle with an animal that wasn't a bird, because birds are like kind of have dead faces, you know what I'm saying? So like Harry's dying and Fox is just kind of like watching with like mild curiosity. So I think it really worked.
So the question is, what isn't the venom from the basilisk still coursing through Harry's blood? Like,
great question.
Because the tears seal up his like puncture wound, but what about all the venom that's still
seal it inside?
I think it like seeps into his skin, maybe. I don't know.
Magic is magic.
It's just magic.
I just need to suspend my disbelief a little bit more.
Which also, Harry's line then is like, oh, that's right. Well, no, first he has the most ridiculously okay with death line a 12-year-old's ever had, which is like, looks like it's the end for me, Fox.
Well, okay.
Oh, wow.
I really didn't understand watching this for like the however, you know, many times I watched it. I didn't get it that the basilisk was venomous, and that like, oh, because the tooth hit him and he pulls out, he has this wound that like he's dying. I just thought like, oh, he just has this, it's just a flesh wound, you know?
Yeah.
So like, did they like, do they mention at all in the movie that the basilisk has venom as well?
Tom Riddle says it, yeah. Tom Riddle's like, the venom must be really coursing through your veins now, Harry, or whatever.
That's right.
Exposition, you're dying.
Yes, I stand corrected.
Well, and then when Harry remembers that, like, he's not dying, he realizes that because of the tears, it's not like, oh my god, that's right! He's like, oh that's right.
Oh, Dumbledore
Phoenix tears have the power to heal.
He's a really bad actor. Daniel Radcliffe, the adult, I would say is a very good actor. But he also takes quirky roles where the characters have a lot of personality. Daniel Radcliffe as Harry Potter is bad until he takes Felix Felicis in book 6 and gets a personality for 20 minutes.
That's when Daniel Radcliffe shines. Oh my god.
He's incredibly good, and everything else I've seen him in, I've loved it. Harry Potter is a Mary Sue. Isn't there a word for dude Sues?
Oh, Gary Sue, I think, is one of them.
Yeah, but it's just like weird
Gary
because he's actually not good at anything, though.
He has a hell of an Expelliarmus. It can do everything. It can knock out. It can blow up. It can
so his
whatever he needs.
His one move is Expelliarmus, and then that leads me really nicely to my final note on my list of notes, which is the Sword of Gryffindor. I take a lot of issue with the Sword of Gryffindor because that is a hobbit sword. A grown man holding that sword would look ridiculous. It's so small and so it looks like it's made out of plastic.
Can I lay some hot no prize action on you, Christina?
Sure, you always do.
It's a magical sword. It will change to fit the wielder.
I don't buy it. If it was, I
buy it.
I want the Sword of Gryffindor to be like badass. Maybe
when you call it through the Sorting Hat and the Sword of Godric Gryffindor, made by the goblins themselves with all the magic therein, that sword can extend on its own. That's why in the seventh book, or in the seventh movie, it is not short anymore. It is a full-sized sword.
Oh yeah, I forgot it comes back. Well, I look forward to investigating.
No prize.
I had a little like pang in my chest when Gandalf.
Gandalf's better anyway.
How dare you?
That wasn't even intentional. Oh
I was Gandalf for Halloween, bro. He's always been my favorite. I don't like him.
No, you were Gadolf.
I was Gandalf the gay. God damn it. You ruined my pun.
When Dumbledore is telling Harry, he's like, you must have shown me real loyalty down in the chambers. Only the truest, sign of loyalty and bravery could have called Fawkes to you and the sword to you. And I had a little pang in my chest remembering that Neville does the same thing. He has the same moment in Deathly Hallows. And I was like, Neville, you're going to come so far, little boy. Just wait.
God, Neville. All he does in this movie is get hung up by his cloak.
And then he says, why is it always me? And it's like, wow, a self-awareness in the movies.
Because you're the chosen one, Neville.
I believe, Matthew, there was like some panel where all of the cast were asked what was their favorite line from all of the movies for their character, and Matthew Lewis picked that one for Neville.
Aw, out of the whole series, that's cute.
Because, he was like, I think it was like, pretty all-encompassing for Neville's character, so,
Okay, I would like to move on to my problems with the Sword of Gryffindor Part 2.
Oh my god, I thought
Electric Boogaloo.
During the scene where Dumbledore and Harry are in Dumbledore's office explaining themselves, as every end of every Harry Potter story goes, the entire time that Lucius is there, like Harry is holding the sword by its blade the entire time.
He grabs it by the blade.
He grabs it by the bloody blade.
Hang on, no. I'm pretty sure I literally almost said Gandalf again. Holy shit.
Mary Clay,
Dumbledore.
There's more than one fandom.
Dumbledore. Dumbledore. So anyway, I'm pretty sure Gandalf tells him. I'm pretty sure Dumbledore says, like, it's like an aside of like, oh, careful. So he does tell him to be careful.
And then he grabs him by a fucking blade
because he has to be able to read it to see that.
No, he could.
There were other ways.
He's standing there holding it, just watching the grown-ups talk by the blade.
You know what? I'm going to chalk that up once more to Daniel Radcliffe being a 12-year-old inexperienced actor. And he's like, you know what? I'm sure which side note, this is our last, film with Richard Harris as Dumbledore. Yeah. And Michael Gambon will never live up to this Dumbledore for me.
Sorry, buddy. You would have been a good Gandalf.
It was yes. Michael Gambon was miscast as Dumbledore. There, I said it.
No, I'm with you.
He was miscast, and then he's on record saying that he never read any of the books, and he never, fully read the script.
He was going to say no.
What he needed to do.
Yeah, so, he didn't give a shit, dude.
Richard Harris, love him, rest in peace.
If he had read the books, he never would have choked Harry out about the Goblet of fucking Fire. The whole fandom is triggered.
Yeah.
No, so I think Harry standing there the entire time is like, the producers were like, oh, Harry, you grab the sword, blah, and then Lucius comes in, okay, now we're gonna, and Daniel Radcliffe was never, as the directors are focusing on Jason Isaacs and Richard Harris in that scene, they don't notice that Harry's still holding the sword, and Daniel Radcliffe just never spoke up and was never like, hey, should I still be holding the sword at this moment? Should I put it down? What should I do here?
I think Daniel Radcliffe always, and sometimes Emma and Rupert, but Daniel Radcliffe always is being under-directed and misdirected.
I think he's just is just going along with everything and just doesn't question it. It's exactly like Harry. I know we've been talking forever and we're probably going to finish up soon, but I would hate myself if we didn't talk about the Howler scene. Okay. Because once again, this was a scene that lives in infamy in my brain, and it was another thing that we would quote all the time in my family growing up, just, Ronald Weasley, how dare you steal that car? Your father and I are disgusted.
It's so good. I've been thinking about doing a dramatic reading where I put the microphone 15 feet away from my mouth and I just start screaming. I think it would be a lot of fun. Bonus episode, just me screaming my brains out.
It's just so good.
It's very good. Okay. So does anyone else have anything else they would like to talk about the movie? Because I've kind of gotten to the end of my notes here.
I have a few very quick. I'll do a lightning round.
Please go right ahead.
Thanks. Okay. Most of the spells that we hear that any of the wizards and witches and everyone do are some kind of Latin, or they seem like Latin based, it's something fancy. And then Ron says, eat slugs. And that's a spell. And it's a real spell that works, and it's a spell. And it's what, where is it the Latin? Why is that a spell?
That might have been one that maybe his brothers invented or something.
Yeah.
You can invent spells.
Oh,
because Fred and George, given that they go on to form to build this prank empire, I can imagine that they sat around inventing pranking spells, and they came up with eat slugs.
And when we first meet Ron in the Sorcerer's Stone, he's trying to do that Sunshine Daisies butter mellow.
Stupid fat rat yellow.
So if they're already inventing spells, then that makes sense. That they're oh, here's one, fucking turn your rat yellow.
Or maybe they did it on him as they're you're going to be our guinea pig, Ron.
Maybe this isn't the first time that Ron spells slugs.
Oh, poor Ron.
Okay, that makes sense. I forgot. It didn't occur to me that you could sort of invent or create new spells. I like that. Okay, the basilisk. I have to just say a few words about this. First of all, it is enormous. Because whenever everyone's talking about how there's a monster on the loose, and then Harry will hear the basilisk talk, which what the basilisk says is very funny. It's always just blood, let me rip you, kill, kill.
Caitlin, when I shared this during one of our chapter discussions, but as a child, I would go around I would just walk around in my daily life going Messiah, Let me rip you. Let me tear you. Kill.
I would not have babysat you.
They're like, oh, hey, Ashley, you coming to babysit us tonight? Okay, cool. So
Incredible. Does it pass the Bechdel test if a basilisk screams, let me rip, let me, time to kill, and Harry listens to it? Does that pass the basilisk test?
The Bechdel test? He never answers.
Harry never talks
they
back.
don't have a conversation.
Also,
the basilisk isn't named, at least that we know of,
That is true.
I was wondering, I wonder if at any of those points when Harry heard the basilisk in the walls, if he had started talking back, could he have done anything?
Like,
you know what I'm
coaxed
saying?
it to do something?
Yeah, if he's like, hey buddy, what's up? You in the wall there? What's going on?
Well, that brings me to my other note where, okay, so he's like, the snake is like talking and Harry's like, what? Something's about to die. And then he immediately comes upon the petrified person. This happens like 3 times in the movie where he hears the
Just
voice.
walk away instead of towards.
Well, it makes me want, like, okay, so because of all that, we think, okay, this snake or whatever it is must be kind of small. It must be able to move around very stealthily. It must,
like human size.
Right, or like regular snake size. And then you see it and it's the size of a dinosaur, but like you can't, that snake could have just like disappeared back into the pipes in a split second like that.
It's the size of one of the fucking sandworms from Dune, dude. It's like it's a Leviathan. It makes no fucking sense. And any explanation, my brain is like, well, if they're by the bathroom, maybe they looked into the bathroom and saw it coming out of the chamber. But like, no, that doesn't, they wouldn't, it just doesn't track.
There's no explanation.
Well, and it gets even more confusing and impossible and improbable when you realize that also She Who Will Not Be Named has gone on record as saying that like toilets only came to Hogwarts in the 17 or 1800s. Which means that like they were installing this entire plumbing system for a magical castle that still needs plumbing for some reason. And they just decided like, well, we found this void in the middle of the school that we're just going to go ahead and lead some pipes into. We figure it's nothing important, but
yeah,
we're just going to sink about a 30-foot. We're going extra wide too, like at least an 8-foot wide, 30-foot long pipe.
I think it's a natural cavern under the lake. We've talked at length about the bathroom situation at Hogwarts, so I'm gonna pump the brakes on that one. Definitely the basilisk getting around the school, there's no...
I just don't see how it could have gotten around so undetected.
Oh, there's that critter in Fantastic Beasts, which, like, I enjoyed the first movie. Like, it was fun to watch. And there's that one critter that, like, occupies the space that it's given. That would be a good basilisk solution.
Yeah.
Because it could be massive in the chamber, but tiny in the pipes.
To move around, yeah.
Did you ever read the Fantastic Beasts?
No.
Like not the screenplay, but like the actual like book that they put out.
Yeah, we'll cover it at some point.
The textbook.
The Letherfold gave me nightmares. That was the most creepy. Sorry, it was completely off topic. I'll stop now. But
okay, well that's a teaser for whenever we fucking cover that book.
Like 8 years from now or something.
Yeah.
Also, the movie, I like just kind of thought about it when they are talking. They're like, talking to snakes is the sign of the dark arts, and I'm like, poor snakes, because there are a lot of like. I mean, I'm not one of those crazy people who's going to be like, I have a pet snake. Isn't he so cute? Like, props to people who have like cute little like what are they, corn snakes? Isn't that one, cornfield snakes? And they're like little baby ones. Sure. I know nothing about snakes clearly, but like poor snakes in the Wizarding World, they get such a bad rap, and it's like the Wizarding World equivalent of like pit bulls.
Oh like, yeah! Oh my god! No dog is better, honestly, to me than a pit bull. I
so like they're all. I would, if I was a Wizarding student, I would 500% be like, I wanna. What do you mean? Are you telling me there's a language where you can talk to animals? I want to learn that. Are you kidding me?
Eliza Thornberry shit.
Yeah, like, and then it's like, oh no, it's actually just for snakes. And then it's like, Well, still, you could talk to an animal.
so
I think that's
cool.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
The only Ravenclaw dog I've ever met in my life was a pit bull. Just
A
putting that out there.
Ravenclaw dog.
Yeah, he's a good boy. His name's Rhett Butler. He's a good boy. Anything else about Chamber of Secrets, gang?
It's a movie.
It's a movie. Bad child acting, good grown-up acting, fun to watch. A lot of tech, like physical loopholes. What's the word I'm looking for? Not loopholes, but physical.
A plot hole? Or
Yeah, plot hole. I got that. I went too far to loophole. Just a lot of things that don't add up, but great to watch. I found myself cracking up laughing kind of the whole time. But it was mostly because of the juxtaposition to the very dire situation against the very bad acting. And so, it's like Harry Potter has the weight of the world on his shoulders and he can't even deliver a line in a convincing way. You know what I mean? So I was laughing my ass off. I was having a really good time watching this. I think the next movie is when it starts to get real, grown and complicated. And I think the writing becomes good in a sort of adult kind of way. Whereas these first two movies are just fun to watch, fun adventures, almost standalone, you know?
Well, and they take I think part of the reason that I love the third movie so much is because they go from Christopher Columbus, who's the ultimate, happy-go-lucky, kids are having fun acting.
Home Alone, yeah.
Yeah, so what's his name? Alfonso
Cuarón.
Yeah, and it's no, you're 13 now, the world's dark and intense. Enjoy.
Yeah, we wear hoodies now, okay?
Yeah.
Look, I'm so excited to do, and I'm putting this on the podcast so that now Christina will be obligated to have me on for the Prisoner of Azkaban movie episode, because that is my favorite of the movies. It's so good, and because I've never seen someone quite nail the vibe of the books. The vibe of Prisoner of Azkaban movie for me is the vibe of the books.
Yeah, it's really
very
spot on.
whimsical. It's some things are kind of abstract. There are a lot of little humorous wizarding moments.
But it's a great intellectual and existential step up from these first two books.
Yeah.
It's mature without being heavy the way that maybe the Order of the Phoenix is. I fucking hate that one, dude.
Yeah.
I'm a Hufflepuff, I don't like to watch
have to come on for that
scary
one.
movies. I just like things that end nicely. I like to, it doesn't have to be a happy ending, but it has to be a satisfying ending. And oh man, the Order of the Phoenix just really rips my heart out over and over again. Anyway, that we'll cover that in maybe 3 years. Well, are y'all ready to move on to some plugs?
Yeah.
Andrew, will you start us off?
Absolutely. I'm going to plug, it's actually a YouTube show called Some More News with Cody Johnston, and it is absolutely fantastic.
Was he on Behind the Bastards?
Yeah, he's on that. He's on Worst Year Ever, which I think, I could be wrong here, but doesn't Sophie also produce your podcast, Caitlin?
She sure does.
I knew it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's where I heard of him, was from Behind the Bastards and Worst Year Ever. And then I went to YouTube and I started watching Some More News, and it's absolutely amazing. And I think it's really important for anyone who was stressing out about the election to make sure that you don't let off the gas necessarily. We're going into a time where all of us are going to be very happy with any progress. And especially if you consider yourself to be a progressive, now is not the time to start letting your party do things that you don't agree with. So, it's good to make sure that you're not just getting straight happy-go-lucky, we're not in Trump anymore news. So I definitely recommend, for a comical but very in-depth and incredibly detailed reporting style, check out Some More News.
A rousing pep talk from our dear friend Andrew. Mary Clay?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at MCWhatsup and Instagram at MCTurnedDownForWhat, and you can listen to my podcast, That's What I'm Talking About. And I'm pretty sure that this episode and then the episode that we recorded together, Caitlin, will be coming out in the same week.
So that means it came out yesterday.
Yes. I was like, oh no, it didn't come out yesterday because I haven't edited it yet. And anyways, yeah. So listeners, as you're listening, I had Jamie and Caitlin from Bechdel Cast on to talk about some portion of Two Towers that I can't remember right now because it's all
in the middle
to me. It's somewhere in Two Towers. We talked about the movie, so go listen to that. I truthfully haven't been consuming any new media at all because my life has been taken over by Lord of the Rings.
You can tell. You can't even get the name Dumbledore out.
However, I'm pretty sure I've plugged it before, but whatever. Great British Bake Off baking show. They have the new season is the new episode comes on Netflix each week, and it's just so. Because it has me feeling weirdly nostalgic for the beginning of quarantine when everyone was making bread. That was when I got really into my Great British Bake Off binging. And then now there are these new episodes out, and I've made a routine of it where I save it until Saturday morning and then I sit in bed and have a cup of coffee while I watch the new episode. It's just so enjoyable and pleasant. So I will always recommend Great British Bake Off.
That's delightful. That's definitely the vibe we need right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Caitlin, what do you have to plug?
Well, you can follow me on Twitter at Caitlin Durante. That is also where you can follow me on Instagram. And Instagram is where I do a weekly Instagram live show called Movie Talk with Caitlin. It's me and a guest just talking about movies. Incredible. And then I host a podcast with Jamie Loftus called the Bechdel Cast, in which we take a different movie every week and analyze it through an intersectional feminist lens using the Bechdel test just as a jumping off point to initiate a larger conversation. And the thing that I would recommend, I mentioned it a couple times earlier in this episode, but I love Paddington and Paddington 2. So if you like Harry Potter, if you like British things, you'll love Paddington. They're amazing movies. And I would also recommend the show Mythic Quest. So for fantasy heads out there, it's a workplace comedy TV series about people who work on a fantasy video game, and it's really fun. It's on Apple TV Plus. So those are my recs at this time.
Oh yeah. I've been your host, Christina. You can follow me on Instagram at Your Girl of the World. You can follow me on Twitter at Tina Fontina. And this week I'm going to plug a movie I watched recently with my dad, Ghost. Starring Patrick.
Have you ever seen it?
No. I've seen it a lot, but I watched it recently with my dad.
Oh.
My dad and I, for some reason, always end up... He's one of those dads who expresses his love through movies, you know what I mean?
Sure.
And I just find myself, I've watched Titanic with him probably 15 times and never, I don't think ever with anyone else.
This is so funny that you're watching these
throwback love stories.
Yeah, with your dad.
No, we just bond over them. So I recently watched Ghost with my dad, starring Patrick Swayze, Demi Moore, Whoopi Goldberg, really all of them at their best, if you ask me. It's just a great movie. I had a great time. If you want something that's somehow lighthearted, even though there's a murder involved, I recommend it. It's a great movie.
It is.
Well, guys, thanks for coming on and chatting about the Chamber of Secrets movie with me. Does Austin Powers say movie? Why did...
He does now, baby. Yeah.
He says groovy, right?
Yeah,
that's what it was.
I'm a fucking idiot. Just listen to me. Thanks for coming on. I had a very good time. Caitlin, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. What a treat.
We had a lot of fun, and now we are getting ready to run headfirst into The Prisoner of Azkaban. But first, next week, y'all are going to get a very special bonus episode, something that we've previously released on our Patreon account, so get ready for that. That's a little treat for y'all. a little pumpkin pasty, if you will. And then the next week we'll be back, with the first chapter of The Prisoner of Azkaban. I'm super, super stoked. I love that book. So thanks for listening, gang. And until next time, get out of my DVD player.
Bye, everyone.
My intros and my exits are terrible.
They are. They are. It's endearing, but they are.
The Restricted section was created by me, Christina Kann, based on the book series by J.K. Rowling. Theme music by Ryan Kahn. Logo by Michael Hardison. Be sure to like our Facebook page, The Restricted Section Podcast, join our Facebook group, The Restricted Section Detention Crew, follow us on Instagram at Restricted Section Pod, and on Twitter at Restricted Pod. If you want to join our Discord server, shoot a message to one of our socials and I'll get you connected. You can also email us at restrictedsectionpod@gmail.com with thoughts, feelings, complaints, or even lavish praise. Until next time, Podheads.
Hello, Clarice.
Hi.